Hey Academic Weapons, welcome to Student Express, where we produce videos so that you can stress less. This is AP World History Unit 1, which will be covering periods 1200 to 1450. Stay along for the journey. We're going to take a whirlwind tour of what's going on in this time period and answer some multiple choice questions along the way. My name's David, and I am the creator of Student Express. I also teach APUSH on the Student Express Review channel, and my goal is to help you study for your APs with our collection of review videos and supplemental exercises. Displayed on the screen here, you can see some of our supplemental exercises, which are available in the link in our description on Payhip, so go check those out if you need some extra practice. Well, let's dive right in, and we're going to start with China, where the Song Dynasty from 960 to 1279 ruled one of the most advanced civilizations on Earth. Important things to note, we have politics, culture, beliefs, and the economy. So let's just start out with politics. And the Song, they maintained an order using a bureaucratic system built on Confucian ideals. Confucianism isn't a religion, moreover, it's a moral sense and a moral way to guide lifestyle. You have the civil service exam, which is based on the Confucian classics, which allowed men, although mostly elites, to earn government positions by merit. This was a scholar official system. It was not a spoils system. It prevented a lot of the corruption because it was based off of merit. And it created a stable centralized government. Back to the beliefs, we have Neo-Confucianism, which blended traditional Confucian ethics with ideas from Buddhism and Taoism, two other prevalent religions in the area. This shaped social expectations and respect for the hierarchy, family, loyalty, and education. Meanwhile, Buddhism spread widely among the common people. So Confucian, again, was more of a standard way of living. There's an important concept called filial piety, which you'll want to know for your exam, which is basically showing respect to the person higher up than you. There's a structure. So if you're a child, you show respect to your parent. The wife would show respect to her husband. The husband would show respect to his father. And then the grandfather would show respect to the state. Let's also talk about the economy, which is where it's massive urbanization and commercialization. You have the formation of paper money and the credit system, and trade along the Silk Roads, Indian Ocean, and Indian Ocean routes. You have innovations like gunpowder, compass, and movable type, which revolutionized warfare, navigation, and learning. And you also have agricultural advances like champa rice. One of the most important things, one of the biggest memes of AP World History is champa rice. If you don't know the answer, it could be champa rice. It's very prevalent in this area, and why it's so important is that it boosted food production and population growth in China. Champa rice is a rice strain from Vietnam, and it grows extremely fast, so that's why it helped really explode the population of China at the time. It's also important to mention the social and gender situation. Like I touched on earlier, it's a very patriarchal society. So women had limited rights under the Confucian ideas, and practices like foot binding definitely enforce this, which actually occurred up into around 100 years ago. And there's color photos of women who have suffered from that practice. Basically, you bind the foot in such a way that the woman cannot walk, almost as if the woman is like too good to touch the ground, and that is the men's duty. So it's really keeping them behind a man, keeping them enforced by patriarchy. So really the Song Dynasty built a powerful, well-educated, and wealthy empire. Moving on, we have Dar al-Islam, which is a shift west to the Islamic world. And Dar al-Islam means the abode of Islam. So this was really shown on the screen here. This is really the home of the religion. After the fall of the Abbasid Caliphate's strong central power, the Islamic world became fragmented, but remained connected through shared religion. Regional states like Delhi, the Delhi Sultanate in India, and the Mamluk Sultanate in Egypt, they rose to power. Islam blended with local traditions. Sufism is Islamic mysticism, which helps spread the faith through personal devotion and missionary. And as you can see on the screen, there's a large swath of territory covered. So the Islamic world really became a center for learning and education during this time. You have Baghdad's House of Wisdom, which worked to preserve Greek and Roman text and advanced fields such as astronomy. Where we get our astronomy and a lot of our number systems is from this time period, is from these areas around the different Islamic sultanates. They also advanced medicine and I said mathematics. Moving on to the economy and trade. This is obviously a lot of different segmented empires. So, however, they did dominate trade. We had routes from Spain to the Southeast Asia, and eventually we developed into China with the Silk Roads. Merchants used Arabic numerals, bills of exchange, and banking systems to move goods efficiently. Cities like Cairo, Baghdad were really wealthy trading hubs, and along the way you had different cities that would literally serve as caravan posts for people to rest along the way because these journeys were so long. They're advanced in algebra, optics, chemistry, and architecture. There's a lot of different great mosques and domes that you can still find around, and it's they are really quite beautiful. One of them is this. This is actually the blend, I believe, of pause the video on. Shown on the screen here is actually an example of this view of the Angkor Wat in Cambodia, which shows how Hindu and Buddhist influences influenced architecture at the time. But in South and Southeast Asia, South Asia was divided among competing states. The Delhi Sultanate, which were Muslim rulers in a Hindu-majority region, and smaller Hindu kingdoms. And then you have Southeast Asia, which is a maritime trade kingdoms, and a variety of Buddhist and Hindu kingdoms there. But what's important to know with the Delhi Sultanate is you have a minority ruling a majority, which does provide us a lot of problems later down the line. So this is a cultural crossover, right? We have Hinduism, Buddhism, and Islam, and they're all spreading through trade and conquest. These systems of trade spread religion throughout Europe, throughout North Africa, throughout China, and throughout different areas in South and Southeast Asia. So it's really a blend of culture. And the Indian Ocean system is really important here. There's different spices, textiles, and precious metals that are being moved along, and port cities like Calicut became really important, which linked Africa, the Middle East, and China. And it's also important to note that it is a very patriarchal society here as well, as with most areas during this time, and you have the caste system, which was prevalent in the Hindu areas. It wasn't very prevalent with the Buddhists, and it introduced new opportunities for people in lower classes. So we have a question here. It's going to pop up on your screen now. Take a moment to pause and read the question. During the period 1200 to 1450, which of the following best explains how the Song dynasty maintained political stability in China? A. By using decentralized feudal system to empower local warlords. B. By establishing a professional bureaucracy through civil service examinations. C. By granting regional governors to complete independence in administration. Or D. By adopting foreign military leaders to manage frontier defense. We're going to take a quick moment to dissect this. This is a typical AP question if you've never seen this before. It usually offers a time period or a hint of the time period. So we're talking about the Song dynasty, so we do know that it is a period. So we're looking for political stability, a decentralized feudal system to empower local warlords. We didn't really touch on that, so let's just move on to the next one. By establishing a professional bureaucracy through civil service examining. We did talk about civil service examinations. By granting regional governors complete independence in administration. No, the Song dynasty, quite united, because we talked about it has political stability, which can also eliminate A. We don't have local warlords. This was definitely complete independence. It was not complete independence, but you do see a lot of that in larger European, Middle Eastern and European empires where they delegate it to different governors. And then you have D, by adopting foreign military leaders to manage the frontier defenses. We're not talking about military here, so we are going to go with B as the correct answer. Moving on, we have state building in the Americas. So this is way before the European arrival, and you have Mesoamerica, which we're going to touch on first, which is the Aztecs, also called the Mexica, built a powerful empire centered in Tenochtitlan, which is modern-day Mexico City. They ruled through tribute and military conquest, and their religion involved polytheism and human sacrifice to honor gods, like the sun god. And then in the Andes, we have the Inca Empire, which created a vast centralized state in the Andes, ruled by Saba Inca. They used the Mida, or Mida, however you would like to pronounce it, which is a labor tax, instead of tribute. Basically, this helped them build they had a vast road network, which rivaled Rome's connecting mountain communities along thousands of miles. The Andes is very mountainous, so they need a lot of infrastructure to connect the different communities. And then finally, we have North America, which is not shown on the map. There are smaller, decentralized societies built around large mound cities. So the American states are starting to develop during this time period, which will obviously continue as we branch into European exploration. State building in Africa. It's a really cool graphic on the screen, and definitely a really helpful one as well. We have in West Africa kingdoms like Ghana, Mali, and Songhai, which thrived on trans-Saharan trade, Sahara being the big desert in Africa. And then we have Mali's ruler, one of the kingdoms of West Africa, which is Mansa Musa. And he's legendary for his wealth and quite literally said to have crashed the economy to places he went. He had so much gold, is one of the richest people in history. And and it spreads stories of African prosperity across the Islamic world, which of course invites conquest in later years. In East Africa, we have Saheli city-states that thrived on Indian Ocean trade, exporting gold, ivory, and slaves, while importing luxury goods and Islamic culture. So there's a theme here. There is a lot of Islam blending with local traditions. There's the African traditions, which are blending with indigenous beliefs and Islam, which produce rich art and architecture. So it's not isolated during this time period, and it's deeply connected to different wealthy, sophisticated kingdoms and other global trade networks. Now in Europe was largely decentralized after the fall of Rome. It's dominated by feudalism, a system where lords granted land to vassals in exchange for loyalty. Large, powerful monarchies were on the rise though, like France, England, and Spain, which set the stage for modern states to form. We also have religion, which is the Roman Catholic Church was Europe's unifying force, providing education and moral authority. And we have the Crusades, which is there's a variety of crusades, and you can go into that deeper on a different video, but they're religious wars against Muslims to claim the Holy City, and they're connected to Europe, to trade routes, and classical knowledge. And then after the Black Death and the end of the medieval time period, Europe saw the beginning of urban revival and commercial growth. So you have new agricultural technologies like the 3-field system and the heavy plow. So imagine a field was split into 4. You also like the burning, so you would burn one field and you have to keep rotating. You plant in 3, burn 1, because what happens is the soil will dry out and it's no good to farm on. You also have social change, which is you have guilds and new towns growing, and merchants are gaining influence, which is the early signs of capitalism. So in this time period, we have to think about comparisons, right? College Board wants you to think about how to compare different places in this time period. So centralization, we have the China and the Inca, strong centralized bureaucracies, lots of infrastructure. You have the Midas system, which is producing labor for the roads, and then you have Europe and Africa, which is a lot more decentralized. You have a lot of kingdoms in Africa which rely on trade, but a large part of it is also relying on local rulers or kingship systems. In terms of religion, you have Islam, which is unifying diverse regions, as shown on the second slide, and then you have the Christianity, which is doing the same for Europe. It's a uniting force. Then you have trade and technology. You have the Silk Road, you have Indian Ocean, and the Trans-Saharan trade routes. And then you have inventions like the compass and the paper money and the gunpowder, which are spreading quickly along these trade routes. And then you have social systems, which are hierarchical systems everywhere. You have Confucian patriarchy, you have the Hindu caste system, and you have European feudalism. Before we end off here, we do actually have a multiple choice question. Take a moment to pause and read. Which of the following regions in the period 1200 to 1450 most directly benefited from the Indian Ocean trade by serving as cultural and economic crossroads between Asia, Africa, and the Middle East? We have West Europe, the Swahili coast of East Africa, the Aztec Empire, and the Songhai Empire. We can eliminate C very easily. This is in the Americas. Western Europe, we are also going to eliminate Western Europe because we're talking about Asia, Africa, and the Middle East. So now we're between B and D. And if we think of a map, we have point A here, point B here, and point C. Point A is the east, point B is the west, and C is in. So we know that it must be on the East Coast, which is correct. Give yourself a pat on the back, Academic Weapons, for completing AP World History Unit 1. Next up is AP World History Unit 2, which will cover the periods 1200 to 1450 again, delving a little bit deeper into these different systems of trade. Please remember to check out in the link of the description a lot of our resources, which will be shown on the screen now, which are available for you if you need some extra help on AP World History Unit 1. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment any questions that you have, and we will get to your answers as quickly as possible. Thanks for tuning in.